clear, and perhaps Shravan can explain more on the same, that the Indian troops only, including the commanding officer, only went ahead to engage in some sort of a dialogue to ensure compliance of the disengagement that was agreed upon on 6th of June. Shravan, it was clearly a Chinese aggression.
Well, Christine, very important points here is that there has been absolutely no provocation from the Indian side. That is something that we need to underscore time and again, because this is something that Chinese have been peddling all this while, that there has been provocation from our side. But what's the reality? The reality is this, that there was an agreement between both sides. There have been Lieutenant General talks, multiple military level talks since 6th of June, and there was an agreement that there would be a disengagement at various points. Now let's talk about the point where this particular incident actually took place. It's somewhere close to patrol point 14. What has the Chinese really done so far? The Chinese have essentially built an Arctic tent. Now that basically oversees the 255-kilometer DSDBO road that is on the Indian side of the LAC. What is this DSDBO road? This road holds a very strategic importance from the Karakoram Pass all the way down eastwards, is what we are given to understand, 255 kilometers. And this entire structure was, road infrastructure was completed late last year itself. And thereafterwards, Chinese have essentially had a problem with road infrastructure that is being built on the Indian side of the LAC, which is something that India has put its foot down. India has made it absolutely clear that you have no business whatsoever to meddle into our internal affairs, first of all, and whatever road infrastructure building is that is taking place will continue whatsoever. There has continued. We have seen laborers essentially being moved on the Indian side of the LAC. What really happened on the intervening night of 15th and 16th was that the commanding officer of 16 Bihar Regiment, along with a group of his men, they went to the Chinese camp asking them to vacate, saying that you need to respect the disengagement process and the agreement that has been reached by both sides. That's when an unexpected response came in from the Chinese side, when the commanding officer was grievously injured when an attack followed, and thereafterwards it was a free-for-all kind of a brawl that basically continued till late midnight, is what we are picking up. India made it very clear that the tent that you have basically built near patrol point 14, that should be cleared off, and Chinese should move back, and they should fall back on a post 1, is what we are essentially being told. 5 kilometers eastwards is what the Chinese were supposed to move in, but that did not really happen, and that's where the problem actually began. What India did was actually following the agreement that both sides had come to terms with, and that's where we are now being told that the scuffle actually ensued. And thereafterwards, the reason why we're looking at this sort of casualties is because, remember, this entire scuffle was taking place on the ridge line. The ridge line which flows along with the Galvan River, it is slippery in nature. And secondly, there were sharp objects, there were stones lying on the ridge line. That's where the casualties essentially increased when some of our soldiers fell in the Galvan River. And thereafterwards, it was a Herculean task on the part of Indian Army to basically carry out this entire operation to retrieve the bodies, and that's why it took a lot of time. Around 7 o'clock yesterday, we are told that the military level talks once again began. This was headed by a major general from the 3 infantry division, lay-based infantry division, when the talks once again began yesterday, where India has made it absolutely clear that we need to talk, we need to amicably resolve the situation. India's position has been very clear. We have not been the aggressor here. It is the Chinese who have essentially been the aggressor. India time and again have made this point. And once again, to reiterate, just a few days ago, you've had the Chief of Army Staff, after the passing out parade at the military academy, made it very clear that if there's a solution, the solution is going to be through dialogue, and that's been India's position. Let us underscore that point time and again. I'm also joined by my colleague Zeenath on this particular broadcast. Zeenath, as far as India is concerned, India made it absolutely clear, amicably solution would be reached. That's what our position has been. Status quo ante is what we are looking forward to. But somewhere down the line, China has had their own game plans in place for whatever pressures that they have, be it domestic pressure that China has at this point in time, or for that matter, the way they have essentially been globally isolated because of the pandemic in itself, something once again that they have reiterated. But developing news at this point in time is coming in from the United States of America. A news portal in the United States quoting intelligence reports saying that there have been 35 casualties on the Chinese side. What are you picking up?
See, Shravan, as you pointed out, the aggression that has always come from the China, because the 10th story that is making rounds, that they tried to build a tent, and when a commanding officer went to the place and told them to dismantle it, some of the troops, because that time the troops in number were very less, they went back, but they returned with a huge number that led to the scuffle of hand-to-hand brawl, and that the kind of equipments that they use against the Indian army, whether it was the stone or it was an iron rod or something. But we need to understand that yes, there were the killings of some 20 army men. Simultaneously, the kind of talks that have to go in order to de-escalate the situation, because you have to resolve the things amicably. As United Nations has also put it in a clear manner, that you sit and put maximum restraint as possible, because this kind of war will lead you nowhere, and the countries, both India and as well as China, will have to bear the fruits then. And we have seen what happened in 75, or for that matter earlier, the kind of casualties both the countries had faced. And right now, this is not the time when you have to start a war, because when the entire world is already grappling with the crisis of pandemic, COVID-19, the casualties that have been there because of the COVID-19. Now, yes, there are the talks that are going on from the diplomatic level, for the military level, because ultimately you have to disengage, because that is the solution. If you start blaming each other, you are not going to reach anywhere. We have seen the India maintaining calm, and we have seen also the way the statement that had come from the army around 12:58 yesterday, the first statement, and the revised statement came in late evening, disclosing the identities, giving the number, giving the clear picture what is happening on ground. Despite that, we are seeing the China keeping the things under the carpet. They are not coming up with the figures, although US agencies are claiming that there are 35 casualties or there are injuries. But all these are the speculations that are right now coming in. Both the governments have to sit, they have to talk, because that is the only way you can lead somewhere. The kind of situation that is there in the eastern Ladakh is really tense. It is a really fluid kind of situation that we are seeing at present.